Hello everyone, my name is Summerset Banjo, and what you're watching is a preview for Lanceroy's podcast episode on unpopular and controversial video game opinions. I was a guest on this episode along with several other individuals. Feel free to watch this preview and check out the full podcast at his Patreon. Thank you and enjoy.
Alright guys, with all that out of the way, we are here with our unpopular retro gaming opinion side quest episode. So this is going to be a fun episode because it's going to be a little bit more back and forth than what we're used to. On the other side quest episodes, we each kind of took a turn and maybe we had a little comments, but this one's going to be, one of us is going to state our opinions and then the other two are basically going to say whether they agree or disagree and why. And so it'll be kind of fun. It's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see and hear what people have to say. Also, if we don't have a strong opinion, we can just say that we're indifferent because maybe there's something about a game that one of us hasn't played or something. But yeah, should be fun. I'm going to start, and my retro gaming opinion will be, number one, Minish Cap is a C or D tier Zelda game. And the reason I say this is because this game gets a lot of hype. The Minish Cap, if you guys are aware of it, it gets so much hype. There's like, it's very renowned in the Zelda community as being one of the better Zeldas, the 2D Zeldas. And when I played it, and I did not feel it. It was like, so you get in the game, you get lost a lot where you'll be at certain points in the game and you just don't have any direction. Like you don't even know where to go. And there's no, like, you're just wandering around. There's many times I had to look up a walkthrough in this game because it wasn't very obvious. And people might say, like, get good, but I think it's kind of bad game design if it just throws you in the mud and it's like, well, go explore the rest of the world and hopefully you run into what you need to run into. So, and for that reason, it didn't hit me. I was in the whole shrinking and getting bigger thing. The shrinking and getting bigger thing was okay, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't like super, super cool. There were certain points that it was cool. So for example, there's like a library where you have to like shrink in the library and you have to like go and climb into the books. And I think that was kind of cool to see like the difference between the big world and the small world. But a lot of the times the big and the small thing just didn't really feel like it was cool. Like it wasn't that cool. The hat was the companion and he's okay, I guess. But yeah, the game it didn't have a ton of fun items. I don't really know what the hype is. I don't get it. It's a beautiful game. I'll say like graphically it looks nice, but it's a C or D tier Zelda game. Now, do you guys agree with me or disagree?
I entirely agree.
Okay.
It's kind of hard for me to say because I've never played Minish Cap.
Okay. All right, Commander. So why do you agree with me?
I think I played maybe about 2 hours of it. Like 2 to 3 hours. And I spent most of that lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is this game doing? Like, it just throws you into the game and it's like, go find a spot. Like, go find wherever you're supposed to go. Like, what are you doing in this game? Like, I don't understand that game design. Like, I guess it's encouraging exploring the world map, but it's frustrating. Like, I can't really think of. There are other Zelda games that kind of do this at certain points in the game, but the Minish Cap seemed to do it like pretty often. So yeah, do you like the graphic style?
I think it looked nice. I think it just kind of, as far as the gameplay went, it kind of drew a little bit too much from the NES.
Yeah,
you're just placed in this area with no idea of where you're going, just like a general story kind of like idea.
Yes, you're right.
To explain it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right, and that's a good contrast. Is the original NES version, because in the original NES version, you are basically thrown into the world and it's like, go figure it out. And so, the original NES version is not my favorite Zelda. I'm going to say that right now. And I know some people like it because it was the first one. But it kind of has that same issue where it's like, just go. A lot of people, I think, use walkthroughs nowadays, but I'm not a big walkthrough guy. Like, I don't like to use them if I don't have to use them. So I'll try to, like, if I get stuck for more than 30 minutes, I might look at one. On the Minish Cap, there was certain points where I was stuck for like maybe like an hour or two before I looked at it. But yeah, it's just I'm over it. I don't like that. I like hints, and I like good clues. I like good hints to tell me where to go. If you talk to the hat, it will kind of hint at you where to go, but it's so vague that it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like the vaguest clue you would ever get, you know? So yeah.
Yeah. See, I think the thing with like old things like NES was, if you were younger, you've only had a few games, unless you had like a rental store or something nearby. So you would have that one thing to play, and you'd learn it in and out. And it's not really the case with things like Game Boy Advance games going on. People were generally a lot older.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think our time as we get older is more valuable. So you don't want to spend that time just like confused. So, a lot of people rank this game like an A tier Zelda, 2D Zelda. And I don't get it. Maybe graphically I get it. Gameplay, just don't. And even the items were kind of like a little bit snoozy for me. It's like, there's one item, you know what it does? It literally, you use it and it flips something over. That's all it does. So like, you use it on like a rock or something. I don't remember, like a pedal, and it just flips it over. That's all. That's the whole thing. That's that's the item. You're like, super cool. Like, wow, I'm glad I got that. But yeah. So we'll go.
I don't remember too much of it.
Right. Yeah, I think that I don't know how far that is in the game either. If you only play like 2 hours, I don't really know.
Yeah. I honestly can't remember even where I got to. I think the only thing I remembered was going small, and there was like really big tree stumps.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I remember.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole game. That's pretty much it. You got the full game experience right there. That was it. So, so Sonny, how about you go with your first unpopular opinion?
All right. Well, my first unpopular opinion is I actually prefer the U.S. soundtrack for Sonic CD.
Okay. All right. The U.S. soundtrack for Sonic CD, is the Japanese one a lot better?
Well, it's a lot more popular with the Sonic fandom, and but I'm kind of the outlier. You see, here's the thing: the Japanese and European version of the Sonic CD soundtrack, it's definitely really like fun and poppy. It's very kind of like fast-paced, hip. I mean, it's a good soundtrack to listen to. I just don't think it fits the game that well. The American soundtrack, not only is it of a higher quality because they actually used like straight up like I think it was like Red Book audio, and so it's actually of like a higher fidelity, but it also fits the environments a lot better.
Okay, I wonder why they changed it. I wonder why they did that.
I honestly don't know why exactly they changed it. I think it's just because Sega of America wanted to Americanize the soundtrack more, and they had Spencer Nielsen, who was a kind of a pretty big composer for Sega of America at the time. So they had him basically recompose the soundtrack to kind of give it more of an American rock, kind of more of an atmospheric kind of approach to the game soundtrack. But he only did like the present day and future stages. They never swapped out the audio for the past stages. So the past stages are still the same in both the American and Japanese soundtracks.
Okay, so is there like there's a future and past in this game? I haven't played Sonic CD in dude since I was like probably like 4, so I can't really remember it. But so there's future and past time zones, I guess, and then the past was the same.
Yeah, so there's past time zones, there's the present, then there's a good future version of the stage and a bad future version of the stage. And all of these versions of the stage, each one has a unique track.
Wow. Okay, Commander, have you played this game?
Yes, extensively.
Okay, how do you feel how do you feel about this opinion?
In general, I think the Japanese one is a lot better. There's a few tracks from the American one which I think are a lot better, specifically the boss theme. It's kind of a bit creepy. It was used on there's a like an unlockable which you can get, which you go through the sound test and it puts in different, you put in different numbers and it will come up with different images. And there's a one which is like a weird, I don't know what the best way to describe it is. It's like a Sonic the Hedgehog, but like he's wearing a mask and it's like tiled across the screen and it's got some like Japanese writing on it. And in the background on the Japanese one, it's playing this kind of upbeat song. But on the American one, it's got the creepy boss music. It became a big thing that even somebody at Sega actually apologized for it because it scared kids.
Oh, that's funny. So it's creepy in the US version, and then in the Japanese, it's upbeat and poppy. I haven't seen this boss. What does he look like?
It's just like a general boss theme. It's used on like all the bosses.
Is it Dr. Robotnik?
Yeah.
He's in like I'm guessing some sort of machine?
Yeah. Not very good ones. It's actually got some of the worst boss fights in the entire franchise.
Really? Okay, so is this is the scene dark or is it like a light scene? Like, is it like a thematically light or dark scene?
Depends. If you get a good future, it's usually very bright, vibrant colors. But if you, it's not Chaos Emeralds. It's like time stones. So if you don't get all the time stones, or I think it's special stages as well. There's like another thing. They're both like, oh no! I remember what it is. There's like a robot generator in the stage as well. So you could either play it like a classic one, go for 50 rings, jump through the big ring at the end, do the special stage, get a time stone, or you can find the robot generator, and that just automatically creates a good future for that stage. If you don't do that and you get the bad future, it's usually dark and machinery, and that kind of like fits that boss theme a bit more.
Okay. Sonny, so you prefer the darker, creepier theme then? Is that right?
Yes. I feel said earlier, the Japanese European soundtrack, it's a fine soundtrack. It's very fun and poppy, but it's something that I think works better outside of the game than in the game, because when you're in the game, because it's all about trying to create a better future for Little Planet. So I just kind of feel like a more atmospheric soundtrack and more of a rock soundtrack just fits the game better, because, let's say you don't go back to the past stage and destroy the robot machine, or you don't get the time stone. Well, you're going to be locked into the bad future version of that stage. And so you don't want to have the stage itself is going to look like borderline apocalyptic. And you don't want that to sound like some sort of like fun hop, like dance floor music. You want something that actually like fits the environment. And so the American soundtrack, it fits that kind of environment, because there's like it's kind of hard to like just to describe it without just like just showing you like the music tracks.
Right.
But it's like, like, for example, like one of the bad future stages, you'll hear like these downbeat like guitar riffs, and like this kind of like this this wailing kind of moaning kind of soundtrack of like chorus in the background, and like some like bits of like like broken machinery and stuff like intermixed into the guitar riffs and stuff, and it's like that, and it fits well with the environment, because you're in the Bad Future version of the stage. It's like all these broken machineries, like flickering lights, and like like chains hanging off of like steel girders and the like, and everything's like rusted and broken.
Right.
And it's like the American soundtrack fits that environment, while in like the Japanese version, it's like wee-wow, wee-wow, and you have like somebody going like whoa whoa whoa, whatever, like fast rapping and stuff.
Okay. I have to listen to these soundtracks now. I got to see the difference. That's so funny. Yeah. Okay. So I'm indifferent. I haven't heard it, so I can't really say. But that's interesting. You guys have differing opinions on that.
Yeah. And like I said, the Japanese European soundtrack is fun to listen to. I mean, it's definitely one that you can go back to and like listen like inside the game, outside of the game, and you'll have fun with it. I just think that the American soundtrack just fits the game better.
Okay. Yeah, even though it might scare kids, it probably does fit the game better. I mean, I think funny enough, I talked to Ruler of All That Is Evil for the Ocarina podcast, and she was saying that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask scared her thematically, like she was too afraid when she was young to play it. And I was like, you know what? I think that's fine. I think it's okay to scare little kids. Like, I don't know, well, I'm biased. I watched all the 80s horror movies when I was young, when I was like 4 or 5, 6, like we're talking about Halloween, we're talking about Freddy Krueger, we're talking about Pennywise the Clown, so I'm kind of like used to that environment. I played Resident Evil when I was 7, and it gave me nightmares, so I don't know. I think it's fine for a little bit of scariness, but obviously maybe you don't want to overdo it, but I think it's fine for a little bit. Let's hear your first unpopular opinion, Commander.
So, I think the best 2D platformer ever made was the first Rayman game, the PlayStation and the Saturn, with the Saturn version being the superior version.
Whoa. Okay.
So the reason I'd say that Rayman is, personally the best like 2D platformer is, I think it's like quite a difficult game. It's got loads of content, especially if you want to go for 100% completion to get the proper final, boss. So, have you played Rayman?
Yeah, I did. I played a little bit. I played a little bit of Rayman 1. I don't think I played much of 2. But I don't have a lot of memories. I remember it being kind of hard a little bit, and I just didn't really get that far into it.
So it starts off like extremely easy.
Okay.
Kind of like lulls you into a false sense of security. And then as soon as you get to like the second area of the game, it just becomes like a mountain as far as the difficulty curve goes. But it's not so insurmountable that you can't do it. It just requires a lot of learning.
Yeah.
So the amount of content, obviously, if you remember, you've got the cages that you need to collect or you need to open, but certain ones won't appear unless you can get to certain areas. So it's kind of got like a Metroidvania kind of thing about it, where you've got to go back to other areas when you get certain abilities to find different cages. And then once you got all the cages in the stage, there's like a little face thing turns pink, just to kind of like show that you got all the cages in that area. I can't remember how many areas there is. I think there's about 5 separate areas. Each area's got a set amount of stages, and ideally you want to get every cage in every stage of every area to get to the final point. And there's like so many different abilities that you've got to use. The only criticism which I would give it is some of the cages only appear if you stand on a certain point of like a platform or the floor, because you'll hear a noise to signal that one's appeared, but it might not appear on the screen so you can see it. It makes like a ping noise. So I had a friend over at mine back when I used to have it on the Sega Saturn when I had my Sega Saturn collection, which I don't have anymore. And he had the PlayStation version. He had a copy of Rayman 2 sat there. His dad said that he couldn't have Rayman 2 until he finished the first one, and we were both looking for this final cage. So he was over mine, I was playing through it, trying to find this last one, and I'd missed a platform and landed on something else, and then that cage just appeared right next to us. He raced home so he could do that, so he could, finally play the game which he got for his birthday. It was just being withheld from him. It's quite a difficult game, but I think in some ways it can be quite fair. And I think it's a kind of, a difficulty that I think a lot of, platformers really should have.
Okay. So this you said that this is the best 2D platformer?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, have you played this, Sonny?
Never actually played Rayman 1. I've only ever played a little bit of Rayman 2 and Rayman Raving Rabbids. That's the only real Rayman experiences I have. But I've watched Rayman 1 on YouTube and other places, and used to see it for rent all the time. I think it's definitely a gorgeous looking game. It's one of the prettiest 2D platformers out there, but I don't know if I would call it the best.
Right.
It's probably a lot of bias on my, on my part. I only had a few Saturn games at the time, so I kind of played it almost religiously.
Okay.
Just trying to get that full 100%. But I will agree. I think it is still an absolutely beautiful looking game.
Okay. Do you prefer this game? Sorry. Go ahead.
Just trying to remember when it came out. I think it was 90. Actually, I think it came out on the Jaguar first, on the Atari Jaguar, and then it was PlayStation and Saturn after that. So it might be a little bit earlier.
It says 95 on the Jaguar.
Yeah, I don't think the Jaguar version looked as good. The Saturn version had some enhancements over the PlayStation version with certain visuals. On one of the bosses, there's a big stained glass window in the background breaks. So the PlayStation was just, little 2D sprites. But this pattern was rotate, almost a, Mode 7 on the Super Nintendo. So, rotating 2D sprites, to make it look like glass shattering.
Yeah. Okay.
So just little visual flares.
Yeah. So you said this was on the PS1 and the Saturn, right?
Yes.
And why did you prefer the Saturn version?
Just those, just a little visual flares. The Saturn was also a lot better at handling 2D games than the PlayStation was. Since I'm not sure if it was a rumor, but it was mainly supposed to do 2D games, and then when they found out about the PlayStation, they were we need to do 3D, we need to push 3D, which is why the Saturn ended up with two separate processors. So it's got one which handles 3D stuff, and then another one which handles 2D and backgrounds. It's kind of made the system a pain to develop for. If you look at things like 2D fighters, like the Street Fighter series, they're generally better on the Saturn than the PlayStation version. Apart from load times on the Saturn were absolutely abysmal.
Okay. So I did play Rayman, and I think it was for the PlayStation 1. I think that's the console I had it for. But when I compare, and I don't have a lot of memories of this game, so I'm going to base my, whether I agree or disagree off of that, is because it didn't really set in for me like something like Donkey Kong Country or something like Super Mario World, where these games are just embedded into my head and I replay them over and over and over and over. So it being the best platformer, I don't know if I can get on board with that. I think it might have been a good game, and I think I liked the art style, and I think it was unique, and I like the character. He's kind of like a unique, goofy, he has no arms, but he has hands. He has no legs, but he has feet. And I like his little, I don't think he has a neck, but he has a head. I like the style of Rayman, and I do think that artistically it was kind of a beautiful game, but it just didn't embed into me like the Donkey Kong Country or the Super Mario World did. So I might have to disagree, but I do think it's good. I do think it's a fine game. I would like to go back and play it. Maybe that's a good Retro Reloaded episode. I go back and play Rayman at some point. But yeah,
it does take a while to get into. Obviously, you don't start with all your abilities. You don't even get a punch at first. You have to find. You have to be gifted that. But, it takes a while to get the ability to run or, use his like propeller hair and things like that. So you're not at like full abilities from the start.
It's one of those games that picks up as you go.
Yeah.
Okay, which is fine, but I think a lot of games like need that kind of that first, what do you call it? Like that first like reeling in like right away, like they just capture you like on the first level. For example, the way Donkey Kong did it was through music. I think was like and you get that rhino in the beginning, so that was its first like this is what you're getting, and then I think Super Mario World, you get Yoshi like really quickly off the bat, like really fast.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, it's like, check it out, you got this. So I think games kind of need that. I do think I remember getting the punch at some point, but it's very vague.
That's pretty early on.
Yeah. But so yeah, maybe I just didn't get to experience the full Rayman experience. Maybe I needed to put like maybe another hour or two in, and I would have like, been like, wow, this game's really great. So, yeah, interesting. All right, so we'll go to my next unpopular opinion.